Today, we build an affordable Factory 533 hot rod kit with only an electric drill, pop rivets, and Dupli-Color rattle can paint. And then we're giving it away.
Welcome to Engine Power. The very term hot rod conjures up images in us gearheads as a cool 1930s ride with no fenders and its power plant exposed for all the world to see. Building street machines really started to gain traction in the 50s in post-World War II America, and that movement sparked an entire culture. It was the dawn of a new era of innovation, creativity, and best of all, the performance aftermarket. Going fast and looking good is easier thanks to kit car companies like Factory 5 Racing, who cater to the hot rodder in all of us. Their complete hot rod kit includes a steel tube chassis, molded fiberglass body, and all the parts, so even a first-timer can bolt together a finished roller.
So for under 20 grand, plus your own engine, transmission, and driveline, you'll be ready to hit the road in a great handling ride that'll definitely turn some heads. You've seen some of the awesome builds that have come together here in the Tech Center. The GTM, the Green 33, and the all-girls Cobra. Now all of these Factory 5 kits are quality made here in the USA and feature top-notch engineering with an emphasis on ease of part sourcing and straightforward assembly.
This time, we're doing something a little different. We're gonna build our 33 on the cheap, and here's how we're gonna do it. We had the body, chassis, and all of its components shipped to us bare so we can do all the painting ourselves.
Earlier, Factory 5's Tony and Mike prepped the bare steel chassis, while Mark Eichelberger from Dupli-Color prepped the suspension parts. Once clean, they gave everything a few coats of VHT roll bar and chassis paint.
What's great about this coating is that it's self-priming, which saves you time, but it's also extremely durable.
Mark brought some exciting news with him as well.
Building an old school rod on a budget with Dupli-Color and VHT is pretty exciting. What's more exciting is seeing the results you get with our automotive paint and coatings. But more importantly, we want to say thank you to our customers by giving away this car with our Dupli-Color Rattle Can Rod Sweepstakes.
Which means back to work on someone's new toy. The gel coat fiberglass body and panels needed little prep. We sanded down some mold lines, did minor panel fitment, and laid down Dupli-Color paint shop system. First, a coat of primer, followed by a jet black color coat, and finally, matte clear for that old school look.
In fact, we're using Dupli-Color's aerosol paints and coatings to finish every steel, aluminum, and fiberglass component. Hence the name, Rattle Can Rod, and it'll pack the same qualities as the finished one they brought us.
It's a completely assembled demo model that put us in the mood to build our project. The body is 3/16" hand-laid laminate composite using a vinyl ester resin. Then all of that is covered up with a black gel coat. The panels come oversized, so finish fitment and mold seam removal is required. Now the end look is a slick surfaced, fine line reinvention of an original hot rod.
It's powered by a Ford Racing X302 crate engine making 345 horsepower and backed by an AOD. It'll also accept Coyote engines, small block Chevys, and LS's. The car only weighs 2,275 pounds, which means it sports a 6.59 pounds per horsepower, making this a spicy setup.
Spicy enough, it needs great handling characteristics and big stopping power, which it gets from these inboard mounted coilovers and unequal length A-arm design. Now the spindles accept 94-95 Mustang brakes. These have been upgraded to Willwoods. So we've got acceleration and braking.
Oh my God, I don't know if I can fit.
Way more room than I thought too.
Good thing.
The only missing part of the package was our butts in these seats. I bet this dude will flat out boil the tires off of it.
Just don't scratch it.
No. There are two types of people who desire an awesome ride like this. I lean towards the performance qualities, like power, handling, braking, and of course, the speed. And these packages satisfy my expectations. Then there's the other guys, like Pat. They seem to be in a dreamy place, with a gentle breeze in their hair, fantasies of candy mountains, and the smell of roadkill in the air.
I drive like an old lady, I know.
Either way, it does make a statement.
It's more than what I expected, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
It's ride's nice. I mean, visibility's good. I really like it.
I would bet the #1 reason they are so popular is that you build it yourself, which is a pride well deserved.
Next, it's time to bolt together our own bad boy.
We are back in the shop and ready to get busy. And so is the build team from Factory 5. It all starts with their chassis. This is specifically engineered for their 33 from a clean sheet of paper. It's radically different from a stock 1930s design, and for good reason. It brings modern ride quality and high performance to this nostalgic platform.
Chief designer Jim Skank from Factory 5 envisioned a classic hot rod that was more than just a pretty face. If one was to be built, the first thing it needed to have was sports car handling. It also needed to accept several different power plants.
We wanted to be able to run modular Fords, small block Fords, also Chevys, the LS Chevys, which is getting more and more popular, and the small block Chevy, which is kind of the staple of the hot rod. The chassis has about 220 feet of tube, but it still only weighs 275 pounds, so the overall weight of the vehicle is real low, so we can get away with using a lot of OEM parts, but still our performance envelope is much more of like an exotic car type.
Complementing that chassis are suspension parts designed and built in-house and come with everything like bushings and the hardware. Custom trailing arm 4-link rears and unequal length A-arm fronts are all suspended by custom coilovers from Coney. Stellar braking is provided by late model Mustang rotors on all 4 corners. The fronts are attached to Factory 5's very own spindle and clamped by the factory lightweight aluminum calipers. The rears are a factory heavy-duty cast iron unit and built to handle anything this ride can throw at them. And a vital part to this kit, the all-important assembly manual. The team has already installed the fully baffled 13.5-gallon fuel tank, which is set up to run either a Mustang in-tank fuel pump for fuel injection or a conventional pickup for running carbs. The fuel sender is also Mustang sourced for easy gauge setup. A little closer to the front, a Willwood double master cylinder brake pedal kit is hung on its mount and the lines run to it. To help get this chassis to roller status, the suspension goes on now, starting up front. A unique feature to this car's design is the Coney cantilever inboard shock setup that not only is superior in performance to conventional shock mounts, but is more compact and is aesthetically awesome to look at. Next up are the tubular upper A-arms. Pressing the bushings in only requires a little shot of WD-40 and a firm grip. The inner sleeves go in next the same way. No grease for assembly is necessary at this time because Zerk fittings allow you to lube the bushings once everything is tightened down. It joins to the top of the shock to tie them both together. These are followed by the custom spindle and rotor assembly. And last but not least, the lower control arm setup. The ball joints on both the uppers and lowers have been pressed in and welded for you already, saving you some time and effort. To wrap up the front of our project, the team will mount the steering rack from Unisteer. It's a manual unit with a 20-to-1 ratio for a light but precise road feel. So far, so good, and it was as easy as it looked. If you're mechanically inclined enough to shake a can of paint, you have what it takes to do this.
Coming up, it's suspension, rear end, and brakes.
So far today, Pat and I played with one of Factory 5's open-wheel 33 Ford hot rod high-performance component cars. Why? Because today we're building another one and then giving it away to one of you. Now we teamed up with Dupli-Color and the Factory 5 team to show you how easy it is to build one and customize it with simple off-the-shelf paint for the chassis, the body, and anything else you choose to accessorize it with.
We already installed the front suspension, and starting on the rear, by mounting the corresponding adjustable Coney coilover shocks. Next are Factory 5's custom tubular upper and lower trailing arms that already have the bushings installed and maintain stock Mustang geometry for excellent all-purpose grip on the roadway. Hanging from them is a Powertrain Products fully freshened 8.8-inch Mustang rear end. It sports all new bearings and seals and houses a Yukon Gear Duragrip Posi Mustang differential spinning a 373 ring and pinion. With the axles installed, we can seal up the unit, but not without a little Dupli-Color textured metallic silver coating on the rear cover as part of our theme. The detailing also continues elsewhere. Mark brought Dupli-Color ceramic caliper paint that contains a caliper cleaner, a can of ceramic-based paint, masking tape, and a brush and stir stick. Everything you need to brighten up the binders on your ride. After a quick cleaning with the prep spray, the color gets stirred and brushed on for complete coverage, and it dries super quick to keep your project moving right along. All 4 calipers receive the same treatment, and it's not just for looks.
What's great about a Dupli-Color caliper paint is that it dries to a nice smooth finish, but it's also heat resistant. So if the new owner drives it like they should, they'll need it.
He also sprayed the brackets with their high temp clear protective coating.
The big aluminum front calipers are filled with StopTech pads and mounted to the 33's custom spindles. The rears are next, and more StopTechs are installed. And we're liking the look of the blue contrast that the caliper paint adds. The next order of business is installing the aluminum floor panels. The factory pre-fitted panel is laid in place, and using a marker, the frame rails are traced out to give a location to drill the rivet holes. Using the supplied laser cut drill template, mark out the locations, and then get to drilling. Once finished up, the panel is put back into place, and your holes are used as a guide to drill the frame. Finally, lay a bead of the supplied Loctite 598 black RTV on the rails before the rivets get squeezed in, and the panel is in for good.
Really, when we design all the kits, our goal was not to just have a professional shop be able to assemble it, but someone at home in their garage with the regular tools they have, no specialty tools, no special trips to the hardware store, nothing like that. So really, ease of assembly is one of our main goals.
The same goes for the firewall, but it gets attached with these slick-looking button head screws. The frame mounts for our small block Ford are anchored to their counterparts on the frame. Now, several engine options are also available to meet your needs.
Time to move on to the steering. A factory 5 steering column is put in place and bolted down. With a support bearing added to the frame, the first shaft from the rack is attached. Then another through the firewall mates to the column via a custom steering joint. With a few more joints and shafts, the steering is complete. Factory 5 provided the custom steering wheel and capped it off with their own trick-looking horn button bearing their mark. Even with some tight angles, this superior engineering yielded a surprisingly smooth feel. The nerve center for our rattle can rod is a specially made harness and fuse panel from Ron Francis. It gets mounted to a bracket that holds the master cylinder and column, with the clearly marked wires getting routed accordingly. It uses OEM connectors throughout for a foolproof hookup. The final task before it's ready for the body deals with safety. The Simpson Racing shoulder harnesses are laid in and securely fastened directly to the frame. Well, that's all we can do to the chassis. It's ready for the body. And that's what's next after this. So far, you've seen our rattle can rod go from a bare frame and a pile of parts to a completed chassis with some styling touches courtesy of Dupli-Color. It's almost a shame to cover it up, but it's time to ready the body, which starts with scuffing, priming, painting, and sealing the rear taillight bezels and the front headlight buckets with more silver metallic. Now, the LED taillight assemblies get installed in their pre-cut holes. Moving forward, this super slick machine billet fuel tank filler cap is fastened down with stainless countersunk screws. The gauge package comes in a variety of different configurations depending on what you like. Ours is a set of Autometer Platinum series with an aluminum panel that was brushed and clear coated. The gauges get put through the holes we made in the dash, clamped down, and wired up. It's easier to do this with the body off the chassis.
You want to roll this thing back so I can get around the steam?
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, getting this body onto the chassis. You'll need 4 sets of hands to do this correctly, so grab a neighbor, whether you like him or not. With a little muscle, it gets lowered onto the frame for good.
Step, watch that firewall.
All right, guys, all you. Gotta come forward, back. How do you want to do it?
I think we got to come back a little, right?
Yep.
Keep going down.
Oh, there we go.
Looks good.
Slick, right there.
That's it. Okay.
Wow. That was way easier than I thought it would.
Get the side screws in, get the firewall screws in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to
Push a little.
push on that.
That's fine. We'll center it up.
I
Let me
can
get the
hold
bolts
that
of
one.
that.
Yeah. We have
Beautiful.
Do the sides, you guys can do the firewall.
I wish all cars were this easy to work on. It gets bolted down in several spots and is done while the wheels are still off to make it easy to get to all the fasteners. We'll drop in a plastic block with the tins attached to test fit for the 302 small block we're gonna run.
Good?
Yep, no, I'm in. Boy, everything clears by a mile. Pan, I was kind of worried about the pan. Pan clears by a bunch.
Looks good.
All right, that's the actual color of the engine, so we'll probably do something different with the covers or whatever, but
Looks nice.
looks
Yeah,
great.
it's going to look good.
All right.
Okay, good.
Next up is the grille and radiator assembly, which has the frame scuffed and clear coated like the firewall and the inner fin sprayed the same black as the body.
It's gotta be that side first.
It's held in with heavy-duty brackets that attach directly to an A-arm mount on the frame.
What about the gasket?
The backward raked windshield assembly gets cinched down to the rigid cowl on the body. The aluminum frame got the same treatment as the radiators. The suicide doors are next on the list, starting with some Dupli-Color spatter paint on the inside, this time not for looks. A thick coat will act as a sound and vibration deterrent. With the striker plates and hinges installed, the doors can be hung using easy-to-remove mounting pins. Now, minor adjustments are made to get the alignment perfect for an accurate fit and smooth closing. Our freshly painted headlights are ready to bolt on. First, the wires are run through the hole in the radiator bracket. Then the mounting bolt is poked through, followed by a lock washer and a nut. These are on a type of ball and socket, so the adjustment is set by tightening this nut when your lights are aimed correctly. The last items to get installed before the rest of the interior goes in is the rear panel. They call it the waterfall. Then the chassis panels get thoroughly covered with insulating boom mat.
You know you're getting close when the wheels and tires go on. The team masked off the Factory 5 Salt Flat Series wheel to shoot a little black wheel coating on the inside of them. The Toyo Proxys 4 Plus tires measure 245/40/18 on the front and 290/30/20s on the rear for an aggressive stance and plenty of grip.
Well, this is always my favorite part of the project. You know, when the thing goes down on the wheels and it starts to look like a real car. You know, you can really see what all that work you've been doing start to look like.
That's a good looking hot rod right there, man. Looks great, man. Nice job on it. Looks,
Yeah, you too.
Looks beautiful.
It was really great to work with VHT and Dupli-Color on this project. I mean, I think the car turned out fantastic. And I think a lot of the customers are already using their products, and now you can see why. Yeah, I think it really shows what you can do with the rattle can really in your garage.
Normally, kit cars are a bunch of mismatched parts all thrown in a box, and you have to figure out how to assemble it all. But not here. We'll call this a component vehicle. That's because it uses parts from manufacturers you've heard of and trust, like Autometer, I Did It, Willwood, and it even has safety equipment inside of it from Simpson, so you know it's good quality and the car is a good piece.
And we're only halfway finished. The next time you see this, we're putting in all the go-fast parts, the engine, the trans, and everything else to get it running. And that will put us in the last stages of assembly, which gets us one step closer to starting the sweepstakes and putting this car into one of your garages.